Morning, everybody. Thanks for coming to my Facebook and YouTube channel. I want to follow up on the video that I did the other day relative to the flower power. I call it the COVID-19 flower power because in the newspaper of late, there's another article. I mentioned this the other day that there's these articles on flour, and I got the idea of flower power from a Statesman Journal here in Salem, Oregon, but also from the USA Today. So this one, the topic of this one is scouring for flour. And this is flower power. And the good news is people are doing more baking at home. They're just doing more things at home relative to their food, which is great because theoretically it's going to be better food, it's going to be fresher food, you can hang out and enjoy it more, things like that. However, having said that, I forgot to mention that probably one of the most important things to me relative to this flour issue, because I like whole grains. I'm still a big fan of whole grains. And I used to feed my kids whole grains. And when I say whole grains, I mean the whole grain. We'd make cereal of the whole grain. Like, for example, we would take wheat berries, or certified organic wheat berries, actually hard winter wheat berries, and bring water almost to a boil the night before we go to bed, the night before, and put like a cup of the whole wheat berries in the water just before it came to a boil, turn the water off, put the berries in, put the lid on, stir it up a little bit, and let it soak overnight. And that's how we made puffed wheat. And we'd tell the kids they had puffed wheat, and when all their other kids were eating the box cereal, which, by the way, the box is more valuable than the cereal, that's the stuff that's in it, research has shown. But we gave our kids puffed wheat, puffed rice, puffed millet, puffed barley, and they loved it. And then in the morning we made these cereals with the puffed material and the puffed grain, and we just warm it up and put sometimes raisins, butter, honey, nuts, fruit. It's just a fantastic meal. So, and it's cheap. That's the thing. That's another thing about what people are trying to do at home. But the story that really I forgot to tell you is how I really got started on this so much, even though I was raised with it, was back in 1976 when I came to Portland and I met my nutrition mentors who had all this experience in nutrition, basically over 250 years of clinical nutrition and biochemical experience in the clinics. And one of my mentors had a laboratory called United Medical Laboratories in Portland. And one day we went down, one day I was over there, we were talking and teaching me, etc. And he said, well, let's go down to the German bakery and have a cup of coffee. I didn't really drink coffee. He drank black coffee, and they had really good pastries. So he said, let's go down to the German bakery down the street, which had been there for a couple of years at that time. And these were German-trained bakers who came from Germany, and they had a slicing machine, which is you don't usually see much anymore, but as I guess you'd say an old-time bread slicing machine. So they'd take the loaf of bread, put it on there, and it would just slice it. It was just fantastic, and they had their bakery in the back. Well, anyway, before we went into the store, we went to the window next to the main store where they had stacks of flour in 50 and 100, I guess it was 50, maybe it was 100-pound bags at the time. This is 1976. So he said, I want you to see something. So we went over there, and we were looking in the window, and the bags were stacked so that you could see the ingredients. So there was oat flour, rye flour, wheat flour. I remember those in particular. And he said, but look closer. And I said, okay, oat flour, rye flour, and wheat flour. He said, no, look closer at the ingredients. And it said methyl bromide, and then it said it was enriched with vitamins A, B, C, D, etc. And I said, okay. And he said, that's very significant. And I said, why? He said, well, because the problem is with these flours, these commercial flours, a lot of times they'll have methyl bromide in them. So what happens is the flour will get milled at the factory, and then they transport it, and to kill the bugs, they treat it with methyl bromide. Methyl bromide kills the central nervous system of the bugs, and it's in the flour. So do you think it's affecting you when you get this methyl bromide? In which case I tell patients, and there's other things that they're using as well, but methyl bromide was a big one then. I'm not even sure if it's still being used, but you should ask the question. But if you're getting certified organic flour, they may or may not have it in it. one of the points of my situation here is to try to encourage you to, when you go into a store, when you go to buy something, you look at it and step back and say, what's been done to this stuff, or how fresh is it? Because it's supposed to be providing your body with good nutrition. And if they got methyl bromide in there, which kills the bugs, that's how they kill them. They kill their nervous system. That stuff could be affecting your nervous system. And like I think I mentioned before, that the methyl bromide has been shown to cause multiple sclerosis and many other things. Okay, so back to the ingredients. And then the other ingredients were vitamins A, B, C, D, etc. So what happened was, he was pointing out the fact that they would take the grain, make flour, and because of the commercial aspect of the flour, meaning that the vitamin and mineral content was down, they would add vitamins into it, which were synthetic, which end up causing a deficiency. But according to the FDA and the USDA, they had to put stuff back into it. So, like for example, Wonder Bread, and you've probably seen the advertisement for Wonder Bread, builds body 10 ways. Well, that's because of all the different chemicals that they put into it, in addition to the methyl bromide. So the point is, we were standing there, and we had quite a little conversation about that, and it's never left me. It's just never left me. So that with my family, I always try to get the whole grain, certified organic, no chemicals exposed to it, and then bring it home, and we made flour, or we made the whole grain as much as we could. Now, having said that, if you want to make flour on your own, I mentioned the other day the leaf flour mill, the Vitamix, and you can make that stuff in your house just like that. And you keep the grains maybe in the freezer, or maybe in a cool place, or keep them in the fridge, the whole grains. So that's the story that I wanted to convey to you. Now, after having said that, we went and watched this stuff, and we still went in and had, I had a cup of tea, I had a cup of coffee, and we had a couple of pastries. I mean, German pastries are just fantastic. So it was a very special event, but the teaching lesson there was to show me that, and it has never left me, to the extent, the other day I was in a store called New Seasons here in Portland, and they have beautiful loaves of bread and just lots of different fresh bread that they cook every day, bake every day. So I went and said to the person behind the counter, I said, do you know if this has been bromated? And she said, excuse me? And I said, do you know if the flour that you made this bread with has been bromated? She says, I don't even know. So she went back and got the bag, and it came from Canada, and it didn't say that there was any methyl bromide in it, because the Freedom of Information Act says they're supposed to tell you if something's in there. And I said, well, okay, so it says certified organic, but has it been dusted? That's one of the terms. And she said, I don't even know, I'll check on it for you. So the point is, as a consumer, you have every right to ask that question. If you're not making your own flour products at home, or even if you are, what's the quality of the flour? Because the other side of the coin is this: when traditionally flour was stone ground. In the old days, we had these mills that would just grind the flour, take it, and then people would use it pretty quick because it was a live food and it would go bad. And then the industrialization process, well, then they started dusting it to preserve the flour so the bugs wouldn't get into the flour. And then the industrialization process came along where they didn't stone grind it anymore. They commercially milled it. The term is they commercially mill the flour, and then they'd still put the dusted or treat it with the methyl bromide and other things. So if you get flour, you want to find a company that has stone ground flour, which has the whole grain. It has the covering and everything in it, because that's where the nutrients are. A lot of the nutrients are in the covering of the grain. For example, wheat. Now, if a wheat is commercially milled and or treated, yes or no, even if it's commercially milled and it's been sitting around, the oils in it can be rancid, and which points to the fact that there's a deficiency in the vitamin B complex in that, and there's a deficiency you're not getting the B vitamins in the wheat germ and the oil from the wheat. So that's why I always suggest to patients, if you're consuming commercial flour, you want wheat germ oil, which is part of the wheat grain, which is part of the wheat, and what's called bee food, which has the covering of the wheat as well, or the grain. But in this case, these are the bee food covers you for the vitamin B deficiency from the flour being milled commercially, and that covers you for the wheat. The wheat germ oil covers you because it's loaded with the vitamin E, which is essential for your heart and your nervous system. The B's are essential for your nervous system as well. The wheat germ oil is particular for the heart. Dr. Shute in Canada years ago found that he could give people fresh wheat germ oil and got rid of all kinds of cardiovascular and circulatory problems So, and that was reported actually in a book called The Vitamins in Medicine. If you can find it, it's a fantastic research book that was done back in the 30s and the 40s when the beginning of all this nutrition started with synthetic vitamins versus natural vitamins. So the point is, you want the good flour. And if you're not getting the best flour you can, then you can make it at home. And if that's not working, then you can supplement with these whole food concentrates that we have. All kinds of whole food concentrates for very particular conditions. In the flour case, I'm talking about these two. Now, what about companies to look for if you're not making your own bread at home? Ezekiel is a very good bread. They've been around for many, many years. It's called Ezekiel bread. They have sprouted grain, they have certified organic grain, etc. And if you like crackers, Mcminnville is a very good company. They've been around for many, many, many years, and they make very good crackers. Bob's Mill is pretty good. You just have to ask the questions as a consumer. What's been done? Where's it come from, and what's been done to it? I mentioned Central Milling. That company's been around a long time. Great Harvest, Ardent Mills, Organic Eden Farms. And then there's another company, another group, another farm called Amos Miller Organic Farm. I don't know if they have grain, but they got some really good products. Amos Miller Organic Farm. You can become a member of their farm and get lots of their fresh stuff shipped to you wherever you are in the country. So that's basically the sum and substance of the point I wanted to make today. Is the flour is a good idea, but you want certified organic, untreated flour. And it should be stone ground. Bob's Mill still stone grind stuff. You just want to know what they've done to it and where it's come from. If you're using commercial flour because you don't know any different, or you can't get other flour, then you take these supplements, or you should be taking these supplements anyway, because the quality of the grain is not what it should be like it was years ago because of many of the farming methods, the soil, etc. So I hope that helps. You can always call me if you want, 503-472-6550, to talk for a few minutes. I do nutrition consultations, and as you can see, I might get into it because it's what I like to do. And the nutrition consultations that I do are, I do a diet diary for a week. I do a symptom survey form of all your systems, which many times show up subclinical situations relative to blood test situations. And then I review all your supplements to make sure that you're taking whole food concentrates, which is what we use here. I use strictly whole food concentrates whenever possible. Sometimes I'll cheat and use things for a short period of time, but unless you're taking a whole food concentrate, like for example, another example is vitamin D. Everybody's taking vitamin D3. Well, that's all well and good, but where's the rest of it? And unless you're taking the cod liver oil, fresh cod liver oil, green pasture cod liver oil, you're not getting the whole D complex, you're not getting the vitamin A, F, and D complex as it exists in Mother Nature in cod liver oil. So that's what I do with my nutrition consultations. I'm happy to help you if you'd like. Give me a call. I hope this video is informative to you and, more important, practical and empowering for you at home, for you and your family, for your overall health. Thank you very much.